All right, I'm getting ready to record, y'all. You get to come and hang out with me in the room as I am recording, and you get to see a little bit of behind the scenes. So here we go. What's up? What's up? What is up? And welcome to the Dr. Allie Griffith Show. It's your girl, Dr. Allie, and mindset, meditation, and motivation is what we are all about. I'm so excited to have you back with me. I'm hoping that by now you have heard episodes 1 through 5 and you're now stepping into 6. If not, make sure you check it out. As you're listening, make sure you leave your rates, your reviews, and you subscribe so you get to hear first and foremost when the next episode is being released. So subscribe, rate, and definitely leave a review. As you know, I have a challenge going on right now where I get to place your names, all of those who have left their reviews, into a random box. I'm going to choose it out and see who wants to win these grand prizes. Every time I do, it's going to be different types of prizes. It could be a t-shirt. It can be a watch. It can be a gift card. It can be whatever it is. It can be access into one of my conferences. I have my Amazing Moms retreat and so many more things that we have throughout the year. So definitely make sure you are leaving your reviews because I love reading them and I definitely want to make sure I come back and share them with you. So today is all about fear to freedom. Choosing this topic today was definitely something that I've heard where having conversations with lots of my friends that came up as the continuous thing, the continuous word that kept coming up, whether they believed it, whether they saw it, and it always came back to fear. And it made me realize that fear have held me back from so many things. I remember when I was getting ready to start my martial arts program for kids with autism, and I was so nervous. I had the idea, I had Zachary. I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu. And at that moment, I knew this is what he needed with being diagnosed on the spectrum. I knew he needed a special place, a smaller location. But the scariest thing about it all was I knew what I wanted, but I didn't know how to make it happen. And the fear just kicked in that if I went to create this thing, that no one would want to come to it. Like, it's stupid, it's silly, it doesn't make sense. And so many of us, and I realized that in the conversations with my girlfriends and with my clients, allow fear to stop us from going it's where we know we want ours. So it first started where the F in fear meant to me that I was feeling out of control. Whenever we're in a situation and we want to do something, like how I wanted to start the martial arts program, what stopped me for so many years before I started it, by the way, it was in my mind for about 3 years. And what stopped me was it was a feeling of not knowing the other side. So let me break something to you. We're never going to know the other side. Never, unless you have glasses that I don't have and you can see around the bend. But technically, we never will know what's around the bend. We never will know what's on the other side of trying something. So if we're always going to feel out of control and we're going to let the fact of we don't know what's around the bend stop us from taking that step or stop us from trying to go after something that's in our own heart. Starting this podcast for me, I was petrified because it's something I had no control over, meaning it's something new. I don't have control over who's going to listen to me. I don't have control if you're going to like it. I'm pretty much putting myself out at Jump Street and have no control over the responses. So what that did is it paralyzed me and it stopped me from doing something that probably many of you are being stopped doing right now. And then the E to me made me realize that I was always expecting the worst. Any one of you like that? Where you have an idea, you know you want to do something, but you start to just expect the worst. They're not going to like me. They're not going to come. Like with the podcast, I was like, they're not even going to listen to it. It's probably going to sound all janky. It's probably going to have all sorts of, nuances inside of it. And I got stuck in that space of I expected the worst. So there I was again. Look, subscribe. I was predicting already. Let me tell you what's going to happen. This is the thought. And here, let me tell you what the result is. And the result was me expecting the worst. Instead of expecting the better, I went to expecting the worst as the first thought when it came into trying something new. I know I'm touching a nerve for some of you right now. You're sitting down in your chair or you're sweeping and you're going, ouch, she touched me. That's when you would leave the review for me, by the way. And then I began to stop my own self from moving towards where I want to go, because the worst, the picture of the worst, the feeling of the worst, I already know what it was going to be. But then I started to move away from it, because since I think it's going to happen worse, why do it? So I already had the idea, saw the answer, and know it was something that I didn't need to do anymore. But then I had to become more aware. And then this is the part that stops us, when we're aware that it's going to put us to a space that we're not too sure how we're going to respond. So some of us are aware of it may do well, and then what? Like, then I'm going to have to do something else. And that feeds into our fear, because we see the other step, we actually see the good, but then we're like, then they're going to expect something. Like for me now with this podcast, I'm like, oh my goodness, they're going to expect the next one's going to be good. And then the next one's going to be good. Now I know how record producers or people who sing, how they feel when they drop the first album and all this anticipation is built up into the second one. So that fear kicks in because you see the growth, you see what may happen, and then you're like, what are they going to anticipate from me? So what do we do in the end? Here's the R. We run. Yep. We run away from what can happen. We run away from the possibility. We run away from that good happening. We run away from that idea, that concept. So for many years, I ran away from doing this podcast, even though many people told me I should, because they say you have that voice or you have a story. And I know some of you have a story right now and you're sitting on it and you're running away from it. So today I'm going to give you some tools on how to get away from the fear and start moving towards your free. Ooh, free, right? Doesn't that sound good? Doesn't that sound like a place that you prefer to be in? Like, who wants to be in fear all of their life? I don't think any of you are raising your hands to that one. But if you think about free, that feeling of, oh my gosh, joy, that lightness of this is what I want for myself, this is what I want for my life, then that's where we should start heading towards. At least that's where I started headed towards. I wanted to move towards my place of freedom. And what freedom looked for me was first following my intuition. That F for freedom, it meant I had to start trusting my intuition. I had to believe that my intuition was going to lead me the right place. And what the right place for me was exactly where I needed to be. So I had to move away from that feeling of out of control, which is the fear, and move towards that following my intuition and knowing no matter what, without a shadow of a doubt, I'm going to choose that best thing that needs to be for me. Then I had to move from rising to letting everything else come in front of me. Now, this was one of my biggest lessons I had to learn, because when I first went to serve with Motivating the Masses, and I was working alongside Lisa Nichols, and she... so many times when I'm serving with her, she would tell me, Dr. Ali, why are you shrinking? Like every time you're around me, I see you physically just kind of put yourself in a corner. And what I see you doing is shrinking yourself. And you don't need to shrink yourself around me. So here I am thinking, well, you're Lisa Nichols. Like, everyone came to see you. They didn't come to see me. And I'm just going to do what I do, which is support you and whatever you need and just learn from this experience. But what I also realized was I was making myself less than, which took me back to my childhood, where when there were moments for me to rise, I would choose to sink back because I didn't want to be seen. I didn't want people to know I was smart. I didn't want people to know that I had the answer. I didn't want people to see my shine. I just wanted to just be in the corner and not be seen. So shrinking seemed fine to me. But even whilst I was shrinking, I wasn't honoring me. I wasn't being my authentic self. So she gave me permission, and she gave me the ability to start seeing that I no longer needed to shrink myself. But when occasions happen and when moments happen, I get the opportunity to rise to that occasion, to rise to my level of greatness, to rise to who I know I am and what I contribute to this planet. So I'm giving you permission to start moving towards rising to every single occasion that you are given and placing your full authentic self. E in freedom meant to me that I had to start expecting nothing. You remember when we were expecting the worst, when we were thinking the worst was going to happen on the other side? How about you just expect nothing? How about you just be present? How about you not expect anything from anyone else and just be? So what I'm doing right now is I created a space, and I'm grateful for Much Different for letting me use their space, is just getting into a space where I can just be me, share what I have, share my experience, share what can help you, but I don't expect nothing out of you. And I don't expect nothing out of me because I'm just authentically being me. Now that's a level of freedom of where I had to work to, I'm going to continue working on, because it doesn't just stop here. And hopefully you're listening to this, and hopefully you're hearing that this is where you want to be, the stage you want to take that step towards, where you expect nothing instead of expecting the worst. And then the last E in freedom, the last E, let me tell you, y'all, the one, I like to say the creme de la creme de la creme. The one that made me just realize that, yeah, that's what freedom really is. Freedom meant I had to start embracing me. Me, not anyone else, not looking for anyone else's approval, not moving towards what they thought, not trying to be something different. All of these things are me. Like, I'm literally taking you back through different stages in my life when I tried to be different. I try to be fit in with the in crowd, you know, the group of people where everyone wanted to be with. There I am trying to wear the clothes, talk the talk, act the act, pretend I didn't have a child with autism. Hello, somebody. I had to start embracing that all of this is me. And when that moment you come to that space and you realize that you don't have to be like anyone else, you can just feel that you're embracing the good, the bad, the ugly, the right, the wrong, the maybe. That's what true freedom begins to feel like. And I know I shared a lot of different examples today, and you heard yourself in some part. Whether you hear yourself in the fear part, where you're busy feeling out of control, where you're expecting the worst, where you're running away from everything, anything that has the possibility of failure or not going well, or sometimes going too well, and allowing that to just stagnate you or shrink down or shrink back. I hope you're seeing that in you right now. And I really hope you're taking some time to realize that, guess what, dude? Guess what, Allie? Guess what, fill your name in. It's time to make a change. And I don't want to live my life in fear anymore. I don't want to live my life in fear anymore. That's not living to me. That's existing. That's just being. That's just the norm. Norm's kind of whack. I'm ready for freedom. I'm ready for embracing who this new person is, this trying something new, this following my intuition, this doing this podcast and not being sure of what you're going to think, this fear, but yet so freedom, because fear will come back in. Don't think that once you reach freedom, that fear don't comes back in. Fear is going to happen with the next project and the next thing that you have to do and the next idea that comes into your head and the next possibility of your next best selves. You know how many clients I got on the phone where I'm telling them, listen, let's work together. Let's see how we can create your next best level. Let's create a strategy plan. And they're like, it sounds good, but I don't know. I don't know if I really want to do well. I don't know what it's going to look like. I'm afraid of it going well, or I'm afraid of it not going well. And as we help talk them through some of those things, and some things we can, and some things it's so deep rooted that it's past me. It's past my support or what I can do with coaching. That's the part where they actually need to go and seek some counseling, where it's prevented them from just doing what they can possibly do in their lives, because of all they've heard, all of the negativity, all of the you are the worst, all of the things that built up so deep into their lives. They no longer want to reach for their dreams. They no longer want to go off towards the better, the rainbow. So I'm leaving you in that space where you can start to identify where you fit in. And if you're ready to move towards freedom, then I'm giving you some tools. Start following your intuition. Start rising to every occasion, every single moment, every moment. Rise. Choose rising. Start expecting nothing out of anyone. Don't expect anything. Guess what? If you don't expect anything, they can't disappoint you. And then just start embracing you, your amazing self, your unique self. All of these things I help Zachary with every day, because I refuse to let autism, Zachary's my son, for all of you who are now popping in, he's my son living with autism. I refuse to let fear hold him back the way it has held me back for so many years. I want to give him the tools for freedom early, and I want him to powerfully choose free. Guys, thank you for following today's episode. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you rate and leave your reviews. Once again, those reviews can be read at our next episodes. Listen out for them. They can also be eligible to win one of my most amazing gifts. And it allows me to just know what you think. Also, let me know what you want to hear so I can have some other topics and dive into it. Your voice matters and you matter. So before we go out of here, remember, be amazing in your thoughts, your words, and your deeds. It's Dr. Ali, and thanks for watching or listening.